So will there be an end to the ongoing war in the Gaza Strip? Now, there's been a recent flurry of activity over talks with a boost in optimism about their progress. Now, according to reports that have come in, Hamas has said that it will announce its approval to the latest proposal for a ceasefire and a hostage release deal in the next few hours. And according to multiple reports, a deal is pretty close. They've also said that the United States has guaranteed that the state of Israel will withdraw all of its troops from Gaza upon the completion of the third phase of the agreement, a condition to which the state of Israel has repeatedly refused to agree. The reports quote some anonymous sources within Hamas as saying that there have been frequent communications between the Egyptian and Qatari mediators, and that the Hamas and the Israeli delegations. The reports have come hours after the United States CIA Director William Burns arrived in the Egyptian capital. The latest effort is to halt almost 7 months of a campaign of bombing and onslaught on the Gaza Strip by the state of Israel, ever since this war broke out on the 7th of October. A major stumbling block to the ceasefire talks has been that Hamas has demanded for a lasting and a permanent ceasefire, but so far Israel has been willing to offer only what has been described as a military pause and not a ceasefire in the general sense the word ceasefire is understood. The Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has in fact vowed to crush the remaining Hamas fighters in the southern city of Rafah, which at this moment 1.4 million Palestinians have sought refuge. Now, a top Hamas official has accused the Israeli Prime Minister of trying to derail the proposed Gaza truce and hostage release deal with his continuous threats to keep fighting in the Gaza Strip. As negotiations continue to try and bring about a cessation to the hostilities, Israel's longtime ally and a backer in this war, the United States, will be hosting Jordan's king next week. And according to the White House press secretary, President Joe Biden will host Jordan's King Abdullah II. And the meeting is said to be a private one, which will be followed by a readout. While from within the United States, scores of lawmakers from President Biden's Democratic Party have raised their serious concerns that they believe that there is sufficient evidence to show that Israel has violated U.S. law by restricting humanitarian aid flows into the war-stricken Gaza Strip, where the Palestinians are said to be starving. A letter to Biden that has been signed by some 90 members of the Congress, they say that Israel's aid restrictions call into question its assurances that it is complying with the U.S. Foreign Assistance Act provision. Under this, the recipients of U.S.-funded arms are required to uphold international humanitarian law and must allow for free flow of U.S. assistance. All right, now to give us more perspective on this, we're being joined by Professor Scott Lucas from Birmingham in the United Kingdom. Professor Lucas is a professor of international politics at the Clinton Institute at University College in Dublin. Now, Professor Lucas, let me in fact start off by asking you this. Do you expect some kind of a progress in terms of a ceasefire deal, given that both sides, that is Hamas and also the State of Israel, have stuck to the points that they've put forth, and neither side has actually budged very much from their stated positions?
I am cautious, even pessimistic, that we will get anything resembling a ceasefire. Let me explain why. We have been here before, for months, and we're now in the 8th month of these mass killings and conflict. We always hear about, there are talks going on in Egypt, there are talks going on in Qatar, Hamas and Israel are talking through intermediaries, we'll get a deal. In fact, quite often that has been spin, an exaggeration, especially from the part of the Americans. In this specific case, let me emphasize to you the fundamental divide, and that is Hamas has made it clear that it will not accept a deal unless it is a phased deal, 1, 2, 3 phases, which ends in a ceasefire and the withdrawal of Israeli troops. On the other hand, Prime Minister Netanyahu's office in Israel has not only said there will not be a ceasefire, they are saying that they are going to continue with their operations to, quote, destroy Hamas, even if there is, say, a 6-week pause. Let me just read out to you the statement that came out of Israel, probably from Netanyahu's office 2 hours ago. Israel will under no circumstances agree to the end of the war as part of an agreement to release our hostages. The Israeli Defense Forces will enter Rafah and will conduct operations there to destroy the remaining Hamas battalions, with or without a temporary respite, a pause, to allow for the release of our hostages. From the point of view of Netanyahu, if not the rest of the war cabinet, any agreement is not a ceasefire. It just buys a little bit of time to get hostages back, and then they continue not only with ongoing operations, but actually attack Rafah, where up to 1.5 million Gazans are seeking shelter.
And also considering the political difficulties that Netanyahu is in, can he actually strike a ceasefire deal even if he wants to? Because members of his cabinet, the likes of Itamar Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, they've said that he would not have a mandate if he does not carry out the ground invasion into Rafah. So if Netanyahu strikes a ceasefire deal, that effectively means that he may no longer be the prime minister.
I think in the short term, Netanyahu could agree to a deal. All right, fine. The finance minister, Mr. Smotrich, the national security minister, Mr. Ben-Gvir, they're not going to agree with any deal with Hamas at any point in the future. But I think Netanyahu could get a deal if the rest of the war cabinet, who's the defense minister, Yoav Gallant, and the former head of the Israeli military and the leader of the opposition party, Benny Gantz, if they agreed to it. But I think from a personal point of view, Netanyahu can't risk a ceasefire because his political future probably is gone, because he would lose the elections that will follow any ceasefire. And remember that he may be in legal jeopardy, because as soon as we have a ceasefire, then the trial that he faces on bribery charges could resume.
Absolutely, indeed. Thank you very much, indeed, Professor Lucas, for joining us and getting us that perspective there.
Thank you so much.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.